Hello, beautiful audience that exists out upon the interwebs. I am your friendly neighborhood. Oh, hold on.
Oop.
Forgot to mute. It's okay. I'll cut it out in post. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. Hi, everyone. I am your friendly neighborhood Prax. Your welcome to the channel. It is another surprise stream because I have a wonderful surprise guest. I will let my surprise guest introduce themselves. Hi, Puja. Welcome back.
Hey, long time no see. Everybody, hi, I'm Puja. You can find me for now at Puja on Twitter, Pujabberwocky, everywhere else. And these days, just because I just got married, a little bit of lurky, but kind of getting back into the swing of things. And this sounded like a fun way to do just that.
Yay! Congratulations again on that
Thank
wonderful
you.
milestone. Also, congratulations to your other half. I'm not going to say better half, your other half.
Yay, we're partners.
Yeah, exactly. Partners in various types of crimes that are not
All the
crimes.
crimes.
Well,
These days being gay is crime. So, crimes. Be gay, do crime.
clip it. But Puja has very kindly agreed to help add another NPC house to the wonderful Carousel court that will be this wonderful game that I am creating. Because I said, you know what? I can have wonderful, wonderful, complicated, integrated subdivision in Savannah, Georgia in 1945. And you know what? I know some great people who can add some great color and voices to all of that. So, first up, Puja. Yay, thank you for being here. So Puja does not know a lot about this, so I will be going through an explanation of how this is going to work and what this actually means, and then we get to do all the fun bits.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I'm taking the mechanics for house building from Green Ronin's Sword Chronicle game, which is a feudal fantasy game.
Okay.
It's basically their setting agnostic version of the rule set they created for Song of Ice and Fire.
Okay. Makes
And
sense.
the big thing in that game is that I'm taking from it is the house system, because it's a big political, really one of the best ways to create a house in the big H definition of the term, a lineage, a political system, whatever. And populating this subdivision in 1945, well, beginning in 1945 and going through 2000. And who are the where is the major power play made in, well, even today, Puja, if I said, where are you going to go to find out the major power players in some southern city?
Uh, the junior league.
Good option. I was gonna the other side of that was just the country club, you know. Yeah,
Potato, potato.
exactly. One takes place inside the other.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. It's like, so the
Well, because I was thinking big city, and
this is true.
so more than one country club.
More than one country club. This is also true. Now, theoretically, there will probably be more than one country club eventually in Savannah. Hello, Malk. Welcome in. There will be more than one country club in Savannah, but interestingly enough, Savannah's population doesn't top out over 200,000 until after the 1990s.
Oh.
So at this point in Savannah's history, you are still, I believe the population is just barely over 100,000.
Okay.
So, and this is actually a fun fact. I did actually go and find because all of this is available online as public documents. A post-war subdivision plot map
Nice.
that that is being used to put together this subdivision, and so we're taking these rules, and the easy part are the roles, because you're going to start with there are 7 stats for the house.
Okay.
And you use those to make whatever moves that your house is going to eventually want to make. You want to, make political maneuverings behind the scenes, or you want to invest in more property, or you want to, start investing in perhaps bribing a local government official. All of those kind of things. like you do in politics.
Yeah.
It so the 7 stats are created by rolling to get the initial rolls, what those initial stats are.
Mm-hmm.
Then you roll a 3d6 plus 1 to
Okay.
get a total number of house timeline events. And those
Mm-hmm.
historical events are in a actually that's the one table that you don't, oh well, it is on the other thing, but I'll show you later. Um this historical timeline that we kind of like, again, this is a Southern Goth urban fantasy Southern Gothic game where basically, although the supernatural creatures that do exist in this world um have always existed in this world, it's not until events of the 1940s in the war that they could no longer hide.
Mm-hmm.
World War II shone a light on a lot of things that a lot of people didn't know. It's the
Mm-hmm.
first time of fully embedded reporters that could um, report on and conflict and what they saw almost live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there was a delay of like from Europe to London. I think it was a delay of like 6 hours, but
Mm-hmm.
so it was the next paper day. Europe to the U.S. or the Pacific Theater to the U.S. was a little bit longer, but maybe 12 hours. But that meant that you have rapid communication, a large number of events that would mean that perhaps a bunch of these people who were very good at hiding might still, perhaps, if you're the only house in London, an entire block in London that survives the Blitz, somebody's going to ask questions like
Yeah.
everybody around you but not you. Um so the supernatural has now been revealed.
Mm-hmm.
And like any good capitalist, this new subdivision is targeting and marketing to the supernatural because money and post war grants and other things.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, I created this timeline, and the dates on the timeline tie in to specific events that influenced Savannah, Georgia history, but with the assumption that not everybody who's now living in this subdivision has always lived in Georgia, right? Like,
Yeah.
the other great thing about being able to ask Puja to come and visit and say, hi, World War II was a great equalizer. It also meant that a lot of people moved.
Mm-hmm.
Immigration went up. People moved from city or from rural areas to urban areas. People moved across states. Um, People met and then moved all over the country. So
Mm-hmm.
inviting lots of people into the new subdivision is a great thing. But these original stats are then modified by events that will occur based on the number of historical events you roll, right? Like
Okay.
so if you roll like say, and everybody gets, it's 3d6 plus 1 because it's everybody gets World War II as an event that you start from, and
Yeah.
it's how many events back you count.
Okay.
So what that does is when we get into it, after those initial rolls are done, so you get the initial stats, then you roll the number of time historical events you roll, and then
Mm-hmm.
each historical event at each of those pinpoint marker years,
Mm-hmm.
you get to roll what kind of historical event happened to your house.
Okay.
Things like an ascent, a catastrophe, a doom. Doom is great. It gives, and all of those modify those initial stats, but they give you story beat points about like what is the history of this house? How did this house come to be? Like what
Mm-hmm.
is interesting about like the history of these people? Um, and it's been my experience, particularly after having done this a couple times with a couple people, that it's better to roll all of the numbers and then go back to try and explain what the history of that story is.
Makes sense.
With the assumption that while the dates are going to be the same, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, the family that you choose to create has always lived in Savannah or even been
Yeah.
here for very long, per se. But we're going to use these historical events because it's kind of makes life a little easier.
Uh-huh.
And just so you know, there's a total of 19 possible events. Nobody's rolled that far. The oldest house that we've rolled so far has been 13 events.
Okay.
Um, and the arbitrary starting point on the timeline is 1000 CE because I needed an arbitrary date so I didn't have to deal with all of world history.
For sure.
And I did not want to have history begin in this at colonization or first contact. I didn't think that was cool either.
Mm-mm.
But at the same time,
That
I
makes
needed
sense.
to have those. A lot of those are pinpoint moments on
Yeah.
this chart. So let us get started to the fun.
Okay.
Is the hard part, and then we can have the fun.
Sounds good.
I need you to roll.
Mm-hmm.
As we're going to go straight across the top, starting from. I should give you an explanation. So HOA.
Mm-hmm.
HOA is your power, right? Like how much HOA is your power? Your
That's
influence
funny.
is what you can do behind the scenes. Your
Okay.
wealth. Your people is both your family and perhaps if you have enough high enough rank and number, any employees you might have or anything that goes with that.
Okay.
Your land is the physical land you own. Reputation is let us say your gossip score. What people be saying about you.
Ooh, okay.
And then magic, because all of these, the individual characters may or may not be magical, but is the house magical is the question.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing about that is kind of becomes important is that there are human casters, which are quote unquote magicals.
Mm-hmm.
They're not humans. Human population is much higher than all of the supernaturals because, welcome to urban
Makes
fantasy
sense.
and Southern Gothic. But they can't cast magic, although there are those who can are separated.
Okay.
So, first things first, you need to roll 8d6 minus 2d6 7 times.
Okay, I'm just gonna do that here.
Yeah. That's why I gave you the roll 20.
Yeah.
slash
Okay.
slash R.
8d6.
8d6 minus 2d6.
Can I do that like in one thing?
Yep. It'll actually do it for you perfectly.
Sweet. 22.
It's actually really good starting rolls. Pretty good.
Okay.
And then just put them all across the top where it says starting rolls.
All right.
Starting
resources?
Yeah, starting resources. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so that one's 22.
Yep.
Next, what do we got? Boop. 23.
Yes. So a 22 so you understand, a 22 in HOA is the home is well kept, but the garden is nothing to write home about. A 23 influence, you know some folks, but you aren't a member of the club. Capital C.
21 in wealth.
Ooh, we're doing actually pretty good. Lower middle class, you have a savings account. There's even some money in it, depending on the month.
Oh, my people, 15.
A nuclear family.
Okay.
Size of that nuclear family is ill-determined, but a nuclear family.
28.
For land?
Land, yep.
Ooh, that's actually good. You own your house and some land in the country, keeping an eye on that balloon payment at all times.
19.
For reputation?
Yeah.
This is one of my favorites. Bless their hearts, your family's historical scandals still influence opinions, but your attempts to overcome have been noticed.
Love that for us. And then 23 on magic.
23 is actually these are actually pretty good rolls. An established family with a small wellspring of magic that occasionally misses a generation.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where you start.
Mm-hmm.
But we need to know how old your family is and how influenced it is by history and what happens. So what we're going to do is roll 3d6 minus 1. And that will tell me the total number of rolls you will make for family history.
5.
5 is good. It means there'll be a total of 5 events. So what I'm going to do is... All right. Boop, 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 boop. I'm just going to give you the dates, and all of these are taken based on historical events.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
There you go. So 1864, 1893, World War One, the Depression, World War Two. And for each of these events, we're going to roll 3d6, and that will tell us what type of event it is.
Okay.
And if we
All right.
decide that you want to build more events into your family history, we can always do that, because you know what? We make the rules.
Yeah. All right. So I'll roll 3d6 for the first one.
Yep.
Okie dokie.
Let us see how you do on fate.
14.
14. I believe 14 is a good option. If I recall correctly on this table, because I wrote it. And remember, 14 is an interesting option. It is a scandal.
Ooh.
So, again, this is where we're going to go and just do the modifications and then go back and explain what happened based on those modifications. One of the things I've taken to doing is just doing, like, exactly saying what type of historical event happened and what caused that modifier.
Yeah.
So you get to roll minus 1d6 for HOA, influence, and land.
Okay, so I just gotta roll 1d6.
You need technically 3d6 in each one of those. You're going to, minus 1d6 to HOA, minus 1d6 to influence, minus 1d6 to land.
Okay. So I'll just do them one at a time.
Yeah. You can do it one at a time, or you can do just roll 3 and then...
Oh, yeah, we can just look at the rolls. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot one thing, but we can keep going. It doesn't matter.
Oh, wow. A 3, 6, and 5.
Okay, so it's a minus 3 to HOA, a minus 6 to influence, and then a minus 5 to the land.
Okay. Oh, not wealth, land. Minus 5. Okay.
One thing I did forget to have you do, and this is my fault, my apologies. Before we go any further and we continue our wonderful look at your family history and how it's going to become, you get bonus die. So if you roll 7d6, and then just go ahead and roll them so you can put them to the side, and then after everything is done, you can ascribe them based on.
Okay. All right, so just write these down somewhere.
Yeah, there should be, like, if you see where I'm.
Yeah. So we got a 4. Oh, under it?
Yeah, under it, because.
Okay, 4, 1, 5, 3, 2, 4, 6.
Cool. So each category on the table is separated by a tens place. There's one in the by a 1. So each level is 0, 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40. So at the end, you can kind of put those where you think that they would do the most benefit,
That makes sense. Okay.
So we had a scandal in 1864. Interesting. What happened next? The 3d6, madam.
Let's find out. A 15.
Treachery.
Ooh.
This is fun. Plus 1d6 to HOA. Minus 1d6 to influence and reputation.
Okay, so it's still 3d6 again.
Yeah, this one is.
Okay, so HOA gets a 4.
Yep.
And then what's the next one?
Minus 1d6 to HOA, minus 2 influence.
Okay, so influence gets a minus 3. And then?
Oh, no, sorry. Plus 1d6 to HOA. So HOA is plus, influence is minus, reputation is minus.
Reputation, okay, minus 4. Got it.
Fun numbers so far.
That was treachery, right?
That was treachery.
Treachery and bloodshed.
Yes.
Okay.
It's good. World War II. Or World War I. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun. We're only in World War I. It can be quite interesting.
11.
11. Ooh, 11 is fun. Infrastructure. Yeah, I know, it sounds really funny. But you roll 2d6
Mm-hmm.
And I would again put those slightly to the side, in that same column,
Yeah.
like above here in the bonus die, kind
Yeah.
of thing. Because then you can put them wherever you want.
Okay, so roll 2d6. I got a 5 and a 1.
Can't spell, but
So should I put them here?
yeah, so that when you
Okay.
go back before you put the bonus die in, you can go back
Yeah.
and say which of the on that column and that row you want to put them on. So you
Okay.
remember where it goes mathematically.
Yeah.
It just makes your life easier. All right. The Depression, worldwide even. 1928 was a very black Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. 12.
12. Oh yes, invasion and revolt. You have not had a positive roll yet, everyone. Not a 1. So you get a minus 1d6 to HOA, wealth, people, and then a minus 2d6 to reputation.
Oh my god. Okay. So is that a total of 46?
5.
Oh goodness. Okay. 5. This is gonna go fun. Of course I roll on this. Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we doing -2?
Minus 1. So the first one goes to HOA.
Okay.
The second one goes to minus to wealth.
Wealth. Okay.
The third one minus goes to people.
Okay.
And the last 2 go to minus to reputation.
Wow, reputation is 5 right now. Amazing.
It's not 0. I should point out that your reputation at 5 is a little on the trashy side.
Yeah. Love that for us. All right, come on, World War 2. Be where we come up. Let's go.
All right, let's go.
There, it's not. It's 8.
Hi everyone, we've rolled a doom. It's minus 2d6 to everything.
Oh my god. All right. Well, this is gonna be fun. That's all right. 14. Right?
Yeah, or you do what I did, which is just /R 2d6 and then do that 7 times, because then you can just don't have to worry about doing the addition.
Okay. All right. We've got -4. -8. Oh, that didn't go through. -8, y'all. All right. -10. Cool. -12.
You can get to 0 in this, by the way.
My house is me. Hi, I'm the person. It's me.
That's possible.
I'm just gonna be it sounds like this house is gonna just be have a lot of land and no people.
That's a possibility too.
-5 reputation.
Luckily, you can only start at 0.
Well, you know. -6 on magic. Okay. All right, we're done now.
We're done.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the fun bit. Now go ahead and now here's a question. These are 5 events.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to add any more events?
I think we've sufficiently doomed ourselves.
You could roll better.
How better?
Look, there are things like Windfall, where you get a plus 2d6 to 4 and plus 1d6 to 3 of them. There's, Ascent. There's Conquest, Favor, Glory. There's all of these positives that exist.
You know what? At this point, we're circling the drain. It just seems like fun. Let's add one event.
Let's add one event. Go back one more. So that would be let's actually go back two because it's I think it would be better.
Okay.
Because then that'll give us because one of the events is actually what I'm gonna do is this. All of this. Move it down to Oop, that was not really what I wanted to do, but what I wanted to do is this. Dupe. There we go.
Okay.
I can do
Let's do it.
because make life a little easier.
13.
13. 13. A capricious ruler. This could be good or bad. For each of these options, it's 6. You add, it's plus 6 minus 2d6.
Okay, so it's 6.
Here, I'll put it in the 6 minus 2d6. That's what you're rolling. You don't have to take that roll, but it gives you a possibility of a positive or a negative. And that is.
Did you put the R in front?
Yeah, /R. Okay. Always.
6 minus 2d6. 2.
So a positive. All
right.
A positive number.
Are we doing 1861 or are we doing 1820?
Which one do you want to put it in?
Let's start with the first one.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so 2. 0.
So no change is a good thing.
Yeah. -1. -1 again. Oh, I have 0 people. Cool. -1 again.
Yeah, if you have 0 people, then it's just you. If you're above 0, then it's you and your spouse.
-2.
Oh wait, I put this.
Okay.
Cool. 1820, by the way, is the year of the Savannah Fire, where it is believed, unfortunately, that due to an outbreak of yellow fever, somebody tried to burn things for cleanliness, and that didn't go so well for most of the city. And by most, I mean like 90% of the city. What did we roll? Okay, we have a house rule. We have a house.
Dooms every time?
No, well, if you roll 2 dooms, you can roll again.
Okay, that's good, because it's so sad. Oh god, it got worse.
No, it got better, but not by much. A defeat is only minus 1d6 to everything but reputation.
Okay.
That's better than minus 2d6 to everything.
That's true. So 6d6.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Malchus,
this is what I roll 6s in, right?
Exactly. This is
all right.
This is when we Malchus saying this.
-3.
We have another cursed house. Cursed houses are great.
-6. -4. Oops. -4. -2. -5. And -4. Okay.
So where we're
that
sitting,
was all negative. That was all negative.
That was yeah, pretty much.
We went up 2, but came down 3, right?
Possibly. But now what I recommend is putting those two for that infrastructure role.
Mm-hmm.
So the land. Well, all of these are not the right. Go to that. Where it actually is in the negatives, it's technically a 0.
Okay.
So what I would actually do is I'm going to delete the sum on that one because it's not going to be what it's. I'll just delete the formula because it'll be confused. But it's technically a 0 because you can't go below 0.
Okay.
So
that's 2 stats at 0.
But the thing is, because they were
3
stats at 0.
3 stats at 0.
But because they change at the ones place, the minute you put a value in, you're going to go into the next tier. So for example, right now, you've got a 0 in influence. A 0 influence is you're a brand new family, you're brand new, or your family was so scandalous that even 3 generations later, people still shun you. And then you also have, what is a 0 in land, or
0 in people and 0 in reputation.
0 in people means it's just you. Your single life, it's just you. And a 0 in reputation. Scandalous. Between public affairs and the implication of corruption, the church ladies have never had a good word to say about your family. You are the gauge that all other scandals are measured by.
No, lovely. So at what value does that change?
It goes, it's starting at 1.
Starting at 1, okay.
So the bottom, if you're going in sending order, 0, 1 to 10, 11 to 20, 21 to 30, 31 to 40.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's possible. Okay.
You didn't roll that well.
All right. So it makes sense to start with trying to up the ones that can change value. So like, what if we're cursed and have a lot of land? Okay. I
mean, that's entirely possible.
All right. I gotta write this down.
So right now, mathematically, nothing except the zeros can change.
What do you mean?
Because you did, like, the highest you rolled was a 6.
Well, wealth can go to a 10, right?
No, but you need to go to 11.
Oh, it's at the okay, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
So that's where it is, like, right? So you need to go to an 11, a 21, 1, 11, 21. So the only values you can really change are the or tiers you can change is the
well, except the infrastructure dies also go somewhere.
Oh, right? Yeah, you haven't put the infrastructure in yet. So once you put the infrastructure in, that might change. Like, here's the thing. If you think that you can get... So if you put the infrastructure in and figure out where you can go, and then for the other bonus die, that might actually shift you a couple. Like, if you want to say, at this point...
I was thinking I was thinking, like, putting, like... I'm just trying to figure out what... If I put the 5 in either HOA rating or land... I would have enough to bring one of them up. So can you remind me what the 2 are?
So HOA is basically your power, what you're basically, and land is your major resource. It's land and wealth are your major investment resources that you can then use to buy other things.
Okay. Ooh, or I could just sit here and up magic, because that would give me 16 if I added 5 to magic.
Yeah, and then if you're starting
and then I add a bonus die. Yeah.
Because if you take that, if you put the 5 in magic, that'll put you at 16, and then you've got that 5 bonus die that you can then, it'll put you at 21, and there you are.
Okay. So put the 5 here and delete it from... That's not a date. Okay, whatever. Let's put it, I'll make it a 1. Okay. So that brings us to 16, and then we put the bonus die of the 5 here.
And
that brings you to 21 for magic.
Which puts you at the where you started, which is an established family with a small wellspring of magic that occasionally misses a job.
Okay. And then for the one, I don't think that one matters really where it goes. Because even if I made this 13 of 14,
No.
I would only get to 20.
You could only get to 20, yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a bad place to start the game in because, actions that occur during the game.
Okay, well, we'll just do that. Since.
Because, as we said, these are NPC houses. They exist.
Yeah.
And things will be moving, and there'll be things that I'll have to do. All right. Because then that means that you don't have to invest as much later, right? Like, or theoretically, I don't have to worry about investing as much later.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna be a you problem.
Yeah, it's gonna be a me problem. It will be an ongoing me problem, but it'll be great. Hi, did you know I looked at this plot map and there are currently in 1945 192 plots on this map for this subdivision.
Wow.
Full on Levittown. And like any value that you put in the zeros is going to raise it a tier.
Yeah. So we just used up a 4 and a 1. So wait, why do I have?
Because you didn't delete the 4 or the 1.
The first 4. Okay, yeah, I used both 4s. Okay, so now I have a 3 and a 2 left. All right. Doesn't matter really where they go.
Nope. Either way, it's gonna push you up.
Yeah.
All right. So we end up with an HOA rating of 13. Well, here I'm gonna do 13 is have you heard of a lawnmower? Those gutters need some help. Influence of a 2. Who are you again? Do I know you? Wealth at a 10 is impoverished. You lack essential resources and you know how to use food stamps. I mean, coming out of depression that's not uncommon. Your people with a 4 is you and your spouse. But you have land, right? Y'all got land. With a 19, your house is small, but you own it and the land it sits on free and clear. That's why you're impoverished. You paid off that whole mortgage and you own the house.
Yeah.
But you own the house you live in.
Hey.
Reputation of a 3. One of my other favorites. This is a little on the trashy side, yo. It's your reputation. That doesn't mean who you actually are.
Yeah.
And with a 21 magic, you've got a steady wellspring that occasionally misses a generation.
And it completely makes sense that the reputation would be that trashy when your house is kind of falling apart and you're impoverished. Like these things kind of go hand in hand. But it's also the perfect place for a young upstart to come from.
I like this. So now we know what the events were. This was a... Cool. All right. So this is really great. Now we have this general course of events, right? You had an eccentric ruler. The next major event happened 40 years later. It was a big defeat, which was the same time as the American Civil War. Then there's a scandal at the end of this period. 50 years later, there's treachery just as you're trying to get out of this, and this treachery gives you a little bit of a bump. Not much, but a little one. And then you had some investment in infrastructure, your land and magic increase. Then there's an invasion. And then comes World War II, and that was just not good for you. So now we get the fun part. Now we get the fun part where we actually find out what these mean? What is the story of this family?
Okay. Exciting.
So here's the first question we must ask.
Mm-hmm.
You and your wonderful spouse are the current inheritors of this family lineage.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you lived in Savannah?
I think our whole life, well, at least for me, it would be my whole life.
Okay. Then the question is, but how long has the family lived?
The family,
This is the question in Georgia, I guess, because that's the thing is
yes.
like, if you start at the back
Mm-hmm.
and we look at this and we go, okay, you have this eccentric ruler, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the book does a pretty good job of like giving you some suggestions about what these all mean.
Mm-hmm.
In the house chapter 5. Sorry. Um, historical events. So if you have an eccentric ruler, although they call them a capricious ruler, I use eccentric because I think it's better.
Yeah.
Or actually, they use an entirely inappropriate term, and it's like I get that.
Yeah.
But I changed the name of it because I didn't really like.
Yeah. Eccentric is nice because it could go either way.
Exactly. They call it a madness historical event, indicates that a particular figure suffered from destructive eccentric behavior, producing
Mm.
unpredictable results with positive or negative outcomes. If this was your first result, your family was instead raised from a mad lord or king to appropriate period for your fine foundling. Note that madness does not necessarily indicate mental illness, but refers to the capricious rule for any reason. At least they put that tack on at the end. You could have just
Change the name.
That was my reaction and why I did it.
Yeah. I guess because it is ultimately, if it was Song of
Ice and Fire, yeah.
Ice and Fire, I guess they wanted to keep it a little bit on theme. Okay.
So, like, if you got this eccentric ruler, right, in 1820,
Mm-hmm.
would that be, maybe something happens, right? Like, do they move the family from where they were, or is it, a split off from the original family, and like I'm going to take my kids and leave you, and go off and do a thing, because right, like you start with the positive numbers.
Yeah.
And
everything went haywire at one point.
And yeah, but that's later. But if you look at just look at what happened with that eccentric ruler versus what you started with, right? Like you gain power, right? HOA. You don't lose or gain any influence. You lose a little bit of wealth, you lose a little bit of people, you use a little bit of land. You don't gain go ahead, don't worry, eat. Hi, Laura.
Yeah. So yeah, not a lot of crazy bad stuff happened. But what I was thinking in terms of when they moved to Georgia, I wonder if that is going to be when that's the only time land increases. So I was thinking maybe that's the infrastructure is moving
to Georgia. And like that's what I was thinking is like having this point. Okay, so this is the point. Arrive in Georgia. Whether that's after whether they've been in the United States, the continent and all that period, we'll figure it out. But that's why it's like, when do you get here? Okay, now we've got our when we got here moment.
Yeah.
So.
So where do we have families from in the game?
So far, we have wonderful question. I do appreciate it. All right, so we have the Eldridge family. They're one of my favorites because they are actually a Native American family who were actually originally Algonquin and moved south in the basically during the French and moved the family south in about the time of the founding the colony of Georgia in the 1730s. They're were sharks.
Amazing.
They're were sharks and sea traders, and they're great because, they're just one of my favorite families that I created. Um, they had two capricious rulers that caused some very interesting drama and complications. We have currently unnamed, but a the dryads.
Mm.
They right, these are the dryads. Yes. They were English dryads who uh come to the colonies and are invested with created as protectors of a refuge of supernatural creatures. Also,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lore point that the as long as the protector, it's that classic like as long as X remains, then everybody be safe kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that same kind of thing exists here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as long as the dryads remain and control their property, some property in um this city or this area, they are able to, you know, the land will prosper and not totally be destroyed.
Yeah.
Um, the final NPC house that we have built, also not yet named, although I really feel that we will eventually get there,
Mm-hmm.
is we have to. Oh, that's right, we haven't finished them. We'll have to do that next time. Is the Unseelie house? They're French.
Okay.
Um, they are the kingmakers in this game.
Okay.
Like their influence is a 61
Holy crap.
and their magic is a 61. Like they're not we haven't finished building them out. We might do that.
It's funny that they're an unseelie house.
There's no good or evil. It's just the winter versus summer court.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all Fae are capricious, and they can't lie to you though. None of the Fae can lie to you.
Nice.
Trooper is playing a mixed race family of Muskegee Indian, Creek Indians, Creek Native Americans. Then
Has he made that house yet?
yes, he did. It's
Mm.
actually kind of hilarious. He rolled two eccentric rulers, a doom, and then lots of favor. And then an invasion and revolts. It was very interesting. It was also Trooper, which meant he made it slightly more complicated than it needed to be because he went backwards in time in the rolls.
Mm.
And then tried to go forwards in time in the story. It was
Confusing.
But Trooper, we love you. And then PB also made a house of mixed race Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Also Algonquin. Trooper is playing a bunch of druids.
Nice.
No, shamans. Shamans or druids? Shamans.
Do you play a whole house or do you play one character?
You as will have a character, like they'll be playing a character.
Mm-hmm.
But then their house also exists, right? And if you have the more people you have in that house, so the character will be the main focus for through which we see the machinations of the house, but the house is really what is,
Mm-hmm.
it is through your house and your family. It's through your family that one can determine one's associates and power in this kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Classic Southern, pretty much everywhere, but classic works with our doing. PB, yeah, Trooper went. Hey Hawk, welcome in. Excuse me. Trooper went shamans.
Mm.
And PB PB rolled some very interesting population rolls, and the story developed that they ended up being incubus and succubus.
Oh my gosh.
Also, there's so we're just leaning into this and having
Yeah.
as much fun as we want, and telling the story that kind of evolves from what these roles mean, and like looking at them line by line, you're like, okay, so who was this eccentric ruler? Where were you before you arrived in Georgia? What kind of family are we having? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people have already an idea of what kind of supernatural creature they want to do, or they just roll for them. A lot of people have been Trooper and PB both. Trooper decided, and then PB rolled for it, and I've rolled for all of the other NPC houses that I've created.
Yeah, I'm happy to roll for it.
Okay. So do we want to roll now, or do you want to roll a little bit later and then tie it into the story as it develops? Because that's been fun.
I kind of want to roll now because I think
Yep.
that might determine like where
Sure.
they come from or something.
Okay. So you have magic. You actually have a pretty decent amount of magic. So you can't be human. Sorry.
Okay.
You could be a human caster, but you can't be a human.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which means you get to roll a d5.
2.
2. Ooh, we get into celestials. Celestials are fun. Uh, that's a d4. Next.
Okay. 3.
Nephilim. Nephilim are a wonderful creation. It is the offspring of angels and humans.
Okay.
And because technically, according to biblical big, you know,
Mm-hmm.
lore that goes with this existing history, that bloodline goes forward throughout history, regardless. There are other accounts tied to like the Ark that part of the people who are destroyed with the drowning are actually a bunch of them are Nephilim, and God is killing them because they're not created from God and whatever. But lore point that I created for the super net for the Nephilim
Mm-hmm.
are go. Oh no, that's just for the fallen. Never mind. We haven't put anything in for the Nephilim yet. Um so yeah. Um we have we do know just curse. Yeah, exactly. But they're good, maybe good cursed. We don't know. Um fallen fallen angels, by the way, may never enter holy ground regardless of which religion the location was sanctified to. The ground remains sanctified as long as one person who remembers / is a member of that religion makes their permanent residence within the general area, 5 miles, or until intentionally deconsecrated or desecrated.
If they're half human, half angel, are they fallen angels?
Nope.
Okay.
That's the fun thing about this. It's not fallen angels.
Okay.
It's full on angels who are not fallen, having fun with humans,
Having a good time.
and Nephilim are the results.
Mm-hmm.
Cambion
And
or Cambion are the reverse, which are basically with fallen angels.
okay. And are they does it just pass through bloodlines?
Mm-hmm. A Nephilim,
Okay.
a Nephilim is the figure it a genetically dominant species.
Okay.
You know.
Makes sense. Okay. What would be a fun place to be from?
And while technically I'm using this description in a slightly Judeo-Christian understanding of it, we can have it based on any religion, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Southern
part of
Gothic and
me
Northern
is
Fantasy.
curious as to when hold on. I'm just looking at some history stuff.
Mm-hmm. Go right ahead.
When?
And like we can tweak a couple of these years if we need to.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think like what non-Native American, not white, not black people were around back then. I know there's
What?
Chinese railroad workers that were in the US. I'm thinking of like trying to figure out who else was in the US around.
Yeah. I mean, we can have them even come into the U.S. Have the family come to the U.S. even later if you want.
Mm, that's true.
Because we say they don't arrive in Georgia until after World War One.
Yeah.
So if you want to have, and that's why I'm saying is like we can have everything happen elsewhere until you get to World War
Okay.
One, because right, like there's a treachery
Yeah.
in the 1890s, and then after World War One, you've got that boost in land and that boost in magic. Did you maybe leave where you were and
Yeah. Well, I
took
mean,
it?
obviously, what I would say is like we could just go to India. The treachery is the fucking Brits.
I'm here for it.
I mean,
I'm here. I'm
it's
here for it.
literally what they did. What they did.
We can go
So
to
what is
India.
1893 in Savannah?
In Savannah in 1893 is what is called the Sea Islands hurricanes. It's the most devastating year of hurricanes that was on record. Seven consecutive Atlantic area hurricanes came through and actually killed a whole lot of people.
Wow, in 1 year?
Yeah,
Fuck.
it was worse. A few years ago with Hurricane Mary, and then the one that destroyed Dominica.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that year. Yeah, where it was like four hitting at once. No, no, no. This is like seven hit Savannah in an entire, over the course of a season, a month
One
and a
season.
half.
Wow.
Um,
Oof.
so it's a very kind of, a big whole bunch of land gets destroyed because hurricane.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of people die. So it would be a good theoretical, that's what happens in Georgia, but that, what is going on in, let's see, if we start in 1820, what's going on in India in 1820 besides the English being assholes, because that's a given.
So I believe in 1820s, I think like there were still small city states and kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
Um
Because I know it hasn't unified under the Raj yet, because
let's see. Uh yeah, there were still kings. So I can there we go. Timeline of India in the 1800s. Woo.
this is why this game gets fun, because we get to do these kinds of things.
Yeah. So by 1857, they were there was popular resentment,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense that that's when.
So yeah, so if you have this eccentric ruler in 1820, and then you have a defeat in the 1860, right? Like we can shift the dates if we need to.
Yeah.
I just
So eccentric ruler, I think, is probably, I want to say, this is India, so it has to be king. Probably like a small Maharaja
Mhm.
who resisted, but probably made a deal with the British to, you know, share some taxes or something, and but keep his rule, keep his people. And what was really common, especially at that time with these Maharajas, is that like they had small city states, but those were like their city states, those were their people. It was a much more of like because it was small, like you knew all the families and like you had history with them. So I can see, losing some people, losing some land, just in terms of you
Mhm.
got to give stuff to the Brits when they come in with all of their big guns. Uh, and kind of tried, and so that explains why power went up a little bit, because probably a little bit favored by the British for cooperating.
So not
And
resisted, but co-op.
cooperated, yeah,
Let's go.
which was an option originally
Yeah,
given to uh the local rulers, because they didn't just come in and say,
yeah,
fuck
because
out of here. That came later,
that came later. Because the English
which
like
is
to do that.
probably what the defeat was that maybe the eccentric ruler died, the next generation came to power, the next generation said we don't want to do this anymore and tried to resist. And this is when, right after a lot of mutinies were going on in India that were all squashed.
Mhm.
So, which was actually 1857, 1858 is when there were uprising throughout India.
So we can shift this 1861, 1865 to 1858, right?
Yeah.
1857, 18.
Yeah. 1858.
Yeah.
And
So
maybe it was one of the uprisings that was squashed. And that makes a lot of sense why there was a lot of loss.
you lost a lot of influence, you lost power, you lost wealth. You lost a few people, but not as much as you lost land, right?
Yeah.
And magic.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a scandal shortly thereafter. We're going to go back and like add more details to these kind of like general bullet points, but this is where we get. What's the scandal?
Scandal.
Because the scandal really damages your reputation. That is the like the real it's the second worst that your reputation gets after this.
Well, so I thought that's the treachery. The treachery damages the reputation.
So does the scandal. Oh no, scandal influence. Sorry, influence. I'm looking at
Influence, yes.
You lose a lot of influence, you lose some power, and you lose land, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I should also tell you that the other point marker that I've been using is Dark Shadows, the soap opera, not the movie, the TV series. It's okay. It's a 1960s. What was considered it was a daytime soap opera. Started in the 1960s. It is full-on soap opera, but is also considered like the first probably like urban, like what we would consider in the genre like urban fantasy or southern gothic kind of.
Okay.
Not in the South. It's set instead in Massachusetts, and it's all revolves around Barnabas Collins. And the opening scene is Barnabas Collins coming to visit his the opening scene is a hand reaching out of a coffin and grabbing a guy, and then the light goes out and you don't know what happens. And then the next scene is Barnabas Collins arriving at Collinswood in Massachusetts, up near Boston, and walking in to visit his cousin Elizabeth. He's from England, of course, and his cousin Elizabeth lives in the United States, and he's coming to visit. And by cousin, he means 3 generations removed. Walks into the front hall, and there's this portrait. And everyone's freaking out because he looks exactly like this portrait. It's like, oh yes, this is the original Barnabas Collins.
Not me.
Who eventually you come to find out that he's like cursed with vampirism. There's sorceress. There was dude refused a sorceress, and he wanted to marry his wife, and then she was into his wife, and then the sorceress got jealous, and then there's werewolves, and there's all of these things that are happening like up here in classic soap opera genre drama.
Mm-hmm.
So we can lean into as much of this drama as you want to make it.
Well, I was thinking the scandal is that after this defeat, the plan to save what was left of the city-state was to combine powers with the neighbor and through marriage. And I think the scandal is that the day of the marriage,
do they not show up, or was he caught in bed with somebody else?
She ran away with
I
the
like
person
this
she
one.
loved.
Ooh, she ran off. She ran one of the how to phrase this. She, because we're gonna give her a name eventually.
Yes. Yeah.
Arranged marriage for political union with neighboring
city-state, whatever it was.
Yeah, we'll figure that out. City-state.
Kingdom. We can call it a kingdom. It could be a tiny kingdom. It's fine.
Kingdom. Day of wedding. Ran off with lover.
Yeah.
And we don't need to. Then we'll figure out who the lover is, because that might be also important. Like, look, I want all the juicy details.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the scandal.
Lost land in the process, which
was that the land that was tied to her dowry.
Which is what I'm thinking. Is that something like that happened?
They had to pay for whatever She
They
ran
had to
off.
sell off. They had to sell off some land. Oh, they had to redraw borders to appease the snubbed.
Yeah, had to gift land to appease the snubbed family.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
But of course,
Becomes treacherous.
it becomes treacherous because a blood feud arose. You see,
Oh, and 50 years later, what happens? There's a blood feud that exists. A blood feud.
and
And
so
then
it's treachery, right?
and then
So what?
50 and then there's nothing happened, and then 50 years later there's treachery. And they define treachery as, I like this definition, either you suffered at the hands of a treachery or you were involved in a treacherous act. Either case, the historical event stains your family name.
I think the treachery is. Ooh, given that we're still
In India.
in India and actually moved away, I want to say whoever was in power essentially sold as part of the blood feud, sold out the neighboring kingdom to the Brits.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Ruler.
Oops. Something just fell off my desk and I don't know what it is.
Okay. And that kind of accounts for the power, right? Because you get a little bit of power boost because the English are helping you, but then your influence and reputation are in the toilet because not only did you collaborate, but you.
Yeah. You sold your neighbors down the river.
To the English, goddammit.
Oof. Yep.
Okay. So World War I happens.
Yep.
Okay, this leads to the next question. Does the family arrive in Georgia at the beginning or the end of the war?
I think the family, my guess is that the family uses, given that their reputation is not doing great, they are probably amassing. I'm picturing amassing their fortunes. This is a time when people were sent to other places to study if they had like if they had the money and the influence. And I sort of see
I mean,
plans being made to, once the war is over, to kind of use the unrest as a time to set up new routes. So I would say end of war.
Okay, so they arrive in Georgia after the end of World War One.
It probably took a while to get there.
Probably. I mean, but it's you. I mean, but again, you've got 30 years. You've got 25 years between 1893 and 1918 to get to a point
start
where
making moves. Yeah.
To start making those moves, and then comes Black Tuesday.
Invasion. What is that defined as?
So invasion or revolt is defined as an invasion or revolt marks a period of collapse, destruction, and ruin. Most of these results come from an external invasion or from an enemy house, but it can also stem from a period of inept rule that led to a widespread commoner revolt. And
so this is just 10 years after moving. I can see this being a combination. What if the bank invaded?
Yeah, the bank could also invade, but here's another thing, right? Like, this is you'll lose power, you'll lose wealth. It doesn't affect your influence. You lose power, you lose wealth, you lose people, you lose reputation.
A lot of reputation.
And you said, like, before in this World War I is when the family arrives, right? But it doesn't necessarily have to be the whole family that came at once, right?
Yeah.
So what if the economic situation that happens, or whatever invasion or revolt, you could even have a common or revolt due to the whatever multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Pick one. A global economic downturn caused big problems across the board. The Treaty of Versailles. How I wished to burn thee. Thank you,
Yeah,
England, for fucking the world. Well, excuse me. Thank you,
truly.
France and England, for fucking. Um, but what if this invasion or revolt is actually still in India, and this is the point where the family has to commit?
Oh, I do like that. That could be when the remainder of the empire, like the kingdom, falls.
Yeah, like this is the
And
point.
so everybody has to pack up and leave. Or maybe they didn't have to, and the loss of the reputation is because they did.
Yeah.
Instead of staying and fighting, they used their whatever was left of like their finances to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of seen like as like cowardice.
Good work. So revolt, like a commoner, a commoner protest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those were kind of spreading. I don't know particularly.
I mean, but it happens all the time. Right?
Exactly. Like you're gonna have a commoner protest. And instead of staying and fighting, I guess. I'm going to put it in quotation marks because it's really
well, it's
fighting.
also probably like staying and fighting the Brits because the
Yeah.
commoners are probably like, we don't want to keep giving them.
Brits. The family.
Well, because this is 2 years before the Quit India movement started.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of building momentum, and instead of joining the fight,
They leave.
they decide to protect themselves and leave because the one positive thing that has happened in the last however many years happened to the people who left.
Exactly. Like they left and like now we have this new piece of land, right?
Yeah, exactly.
However, World War II happens. Hashtag blame the English. Well, to be fair, the Germans made some bad choices. The Japanese made some bad choices. But that Treaty of Versailles, man, that did not help anything. So like you had up until this point, you still like you had reputation. Now you don't. You will lose out reputation. People, you'll go down to just a single survivor, right? At the end of the war. Or a survivor and their spouse at the end of the war, basically. So what happens? Not that you have a large family before then, but you lose 12. So what is it? Yeah. You go from a nuclear family to a single person who then eventually gets married, like effectively right after the end of the war.
I think the war happens to the family at least.
Okay.
I think everyone who goes off to fight and it doesn't come back, and then the older generation probably are lost due to old.
World War II. Enough said.
World War II, enough said. And I think the reputation just goes because it's like there's nobody there to sustain it.
I mean, but at the same time, this is all like a massive, like that massive hit. That's a massive hit to your reputation, right? Like,
yeah, I think maybe the person who's left surviving is like the one that didn't fit in.
Okay.
Like, or couldn't get drafted for some reason.
Okay. Would it be fair to say it might be something like an invisible disability?
Yeah, something like that. Something that people are not tolerant of and very quick to judge.
And something that might be enough to get you 4F status, but not something that would be immediate that people at home front would be like, no, he's 4F. We understand that he's not.
Yeah. Instead, it's like, oh, why didn't you go with your brothers? You're a coward.
Yeah. What do we think?
I like that.
World War II. Most of the family dies fighting. Lone survivor. Last heir or heiress, whatever gender we choose to.
Well, I'd probably heir just because of the drafting. Thing.
Oh, that makes sense. Last heir. 4F with full disability that caused others to believe they were avoiding the draft. Right? Like, I think, okay, so now we've got the broad strokes.
Oh, and I thought for the wealth, this is probably when that person, the lone survivor, spent all the money to own the land, essentially, as much of the land as they could get. And so, like, that house has been around for that long, and that's why it's in such disrepair now.
Ooh, I like it. Are we going like how old is this house that they buy? Now, admittedly, technically this subdivision becomes a post-war build and most of the houses in it are official, like if you actually I found the map, you can actually find it in Georgia on the map still, are all like post-war bungalows and mill houses and those kinds of things. But I'm shifting things so it's the subdivision happened earlier, like in the early, but pieces were being sold off at various points.
Yeah.
And then, so there's a variety of architecture that we can go with. Like craftsman, and then post, like pre-war, Depression era, craftsman.
I think the house is probably, they probably have been living there since they moved there. So we're looking at like right around, if not just after World War I.
So craftsman or mission style, really. So a craftsman style. I like this. Craftsman style house that needs some love. Needs some love there. All right. Why do thing? Do that thing. Cool. All right, so now we've got our bullet points. Now we need to know who these people are, and we also need to name them so that if they have to be mentioned, I can have
names.
Yeah, exactly. And then we might have to figure out some face claims. By the way, I have already started building the Pinterest on this.
Nice. Okay. So we need, I guess we need the eccentric ruler's name.
Yes, and we also kind of figure out from India, what part of India is he from?
There's so many options.
This is why I get to bring you in here and have you help me do this the right way.
Looking around. Indian. Oh. We're gonna, even the part of India where my family's from, like, there's still a royal family in almost every city. They just don't have any status or anything.
Yep. Oh, hey, Trooper. Welcome in. Thank you for bringing your crew over. I mean, I'm assuming everybody who's coming in all knows Trooper, and everyone who's here probably knows Trooper, but thank you for coming in on that wonderful raid. The wonderful, kind Puja is here to help me build a new house for one of the NPC houses. It's getting good. We have some drama. Lots of drama building.
Lots of drama. Let's see. I wish there was a map.
What kind of map are we looking for?
Trooper, my house is cursed. A map of, oh, here we go. I'm just looking for like a map of the different city states. that were in princely states. Here we go. Ooh, there's a lot.
Yes, those are useful. While Puja looks at the princely states of India in 1820, hi everyone coming in with Trooper. We are running this stream to build an NPC house. Also, if you came in with Trooper, I'd really love it if you could hit that little circle at the bottom and count as a person. Um, instead of just a raider. Because Twitch. But hi everybody, I'm your friendly neighborhood Prax. Welcome in. We are building up some houses for the little circle at the bottom that says live. If you click that, then you register as an actual person and not just a raider anymore. It'll basically refresh, or you can just hit the refresh button. That works too. And if you came in on that raid, we are building up the house, or we're building up Carousel Court, and wonderful Puja is helping me build an NPC house, figuring some wonderful color to Savannah, Georgia in 1945. Carousel Court is a game that I am building, combining mechanics from Sword Chronicle and Pendragon systems, and Southern Gothic urban fantasy, lots of fun things. If you want to check out any of the previous streams I've done, hi, there's a YouTube. You can click it right there. All in nice, neat little boxes. If you came over with Trooper, we did Trooper's stream actually a week ago, yes, on Thursday, and it is very interesting what's happened so far. So, Puja.
Okay.
How we doing? No, I'm not rushing you.
All right, so we're fucking with history.
That's okay.
I have picked a small princely state. It didn't actually it came into, it was an offshoot, but it kind of became a princely state in like the mid 1800s, so we're just gonna mess with it. Okay, so we are gonna be from,
yeah, I mean, we can mess with
type
everything.
it in here.
Yes, please do. And then I'm going to ask very kindly to have you say it like 4 times.
Yes. So, okay, the name of the Maharaja is Maharaja, just gonna pick his dad. Jadeja dynasty. Wow, everyone had weird names back then. They just had a G on the end of everything as like a sir.
Oh, okay. So G meaning the letter G, or G like
no, J-I.
J-I.
So like, for example, I grew up calling my grandfather Dadaji. The name for like, but like my Nieflings call my dad Dada, which just means paternal grandfather, but we used to say Dadaji, which is like adding that.
So a suffix of respect. Yes,
exactly. So I mean, I'm sure they'd call him like Rajaji or Sahibji.
Okay. See, this is useful and helpful to me because I like languages, and I freely acknowledge that the Indian subcontinent is a collection of languages that I have not spent enough time in. As much as I love the films that come out of there and love watching them and enjoying them in their original languages, I just don't know enough about them. Okay, so an inflected language with suffixes that for status. I like this.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go with the king. I just want to pick a random name. Oh, there was Maharaja Bhagvat Singh Ji, who was the Maharaja of Gondal in 1911. We'll just go with him. It was a pretty palace too. Oh, that's sad. And they had a right to an 11-gun salute.
Okay, I'm very confused. Like, legitimately, is 11 an important number in India?
No, you can, I guess, depending on how fancy your family is, you get more gun salutes.
Yeah, so but usually, like usually it's, okay, I guess it's 10, an 11-gun salute would be a core of 5, fired twice, plus 1 extra.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm gonna oh. Okay, I'm just gonna pick a person who was there from 1814 to 1821.
That works.
There you go. So Maharaja Devaji, Right. Okay. I'm gonna write that down. Maharaja Devaji. And then it's the total family is the Jadeja family, and that's gonna continue to be their name now.
Okay.
So that is a modern Gujarati last name. Yes. Okay, so that is the eccentric ruler.
So let me make sure I said this correctly. Jadeja?
Jadeja. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I will play with that and make sure I learn to say it correctly.
So it's the Jadeja family. Let's see. We need the name of the scandal. Well, let me give you the neighboring city-state.
Yeah, well, we're gonna need other names, and we're gonna need to know.
Yeah.
So far we have ruled. We have an eccentric ruler. There's a defeat, a scandal, a treachery, some infrastructure building, then an invasion, and then doom. Is there I'm now contractually obligated to say it that way every time.
It is
just doom.
Okay, I'm actually looking at this very old map of Kathiawar, the region, because this was one of the princely states. Let's see. Wow. Oh my gosh. There were altogether 193. This is a small area. States of varying size and importance, of which 14 exercised independent jurisdiction, while the rest were to varying degrees under British administration. And then there were classes. This is wild.
I'm here for it. So
this is 193 states over 20,000 square miles.
That's actually not that.
That's not big. But in 1901, the population was already 2 million.
That's huge.
It's massive. I mean, this is the center was Rajkot, which continues to be a massive city. It's actually where it's like the biggest city where my family is from in India. But like Gondal right now to me is a very small town with absolutely nothing to do. My aunt and my uncle lived there, but like even their kids, as soon as they got to college, moved in with my grandpa and my grandparents in the city of Rajkot, because there's nothing in Gondal. But it used to be this first class princely state with like this beautiful palace and all this stuff, and I just remember it as like a village.
Look, we can talk about how the 19th century was horrible across the board. Thank you, England, for fucking things up. But like the entire population of the country of Ireland has yet to recover from the 1840s potato famine.
Yeah.
The population in 1838 in Ireland was almost 10 million people.
Wow.
You are almost to 5 now. Half of that. You have not recovered. I mean, and then you've got the Italians, and they're just, they have lots of,
you know.
Yeah. So okay, so we are in so Rajapur is the big city.
Rajkot, Rajkot. So like that's gonna be where the British administration is gonna be.
Yeah, so we might need to know them for other reasons.
Yeah.
But while we're figuring this out, I have a next question.
Yes.
So we know that the family is Nephilim, and we know that is, or at least that's the general broad category, but we will, of course, probably reflavor it or redefine it based for cultural relevance, which is another point that I actually put in this lore, is that, you know, the divine and the infernal exist. What they are or who they are is a personal choice, and that certain beings are limited to certain ethnic traditions, like, you know, banshees are banshees. I'm sorry, they really only belong to the Irish. I mean, they're similar, but they're not all the same. But some exist among all ethnic groups, but might be called different things by different people. So, like, we know that the divine some divine spirit came around and messed with a bunch of humans, and that's how this family lineage came into being. What they are called, or what they
Yeah.
self-identify as, is going to be different based on cultures.
Mm-hmm.
And Nephilim is just the term I'm using because it's the one I am most familiar with in the English language.
Mm-hmm.
But how, like, so this Maharaja Devaji?
Devaji, yeah.
Devaji. All right, so stress on the first syllable. Devaji.
Mm-hmm.
How long do they live, right? Like, how long lived are these people? Is Devaji still alive when we get to this point with this blood feud that's going to come up erupting, or
Um,
is
no, because we did
have
have the
the
uprising
uprising?
come
Yeah, the
right
uprising in
after. So
1857.
I
So
think Devaji is when the house started going sideways. I think it was, like you got the starting resource, it was established, it had everything going on. And then Devaji made a deal, and then I think Devaji passed away probably like late 1840s.
okay, so does he die of natural causes, or was he killed?
Mm, yes, I mean, I like it being unclear.
Like, perhaps it looked like a heart attack, but it's very strange because no one in the family has ever died from that before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think, yeah, because it's the Nephilim, they're not humans, they're generally longer lived. And, if the house were to have been cursed, uh, you know, that could also be why he suddenly died.
So if he's okay, going with the cursed thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, going with the cursed thing, um, we say that he's an eccentric ruler, and that part of it he makes a deal with the English.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know in Ireland there are certain traditions, and it's also there are similar traditions in Sicily among certain things that violating certain oaths or making deals that are contrary to certain things would be seen as going against the divine, and the divine will strike you down for it, right?
Yeah.
We are saying that this family are born of the divine in India.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this ruler who is born of the divine in India is cooperating with the invaders.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough about Indian religions to say if that would be something that would be.
Oh, it's totally possible. Like, yes. In fact, because like every religion, you have like the actual practitioners, and then you have like the offshoots that
Yeah.
do the more strange things. Like I grew up learning about curses. It was on movies. It was fine. Like it's a widely accepted eccentric practitioners of religion thing.
No, curses are great. Like,
Yeah.
one of the best things about being, side note, classicist means I studied a bunch of ancient Roman and Greek stuff. One of the best pieces of documentation of history we have from ancient Rome are the curse tablets that were buried in the Circus Maximus, because people would be
Yeah.
like, fans were, you talk about fans being rabid in, like, um Manchester United fans are rabid. Nah, man. These are people who went out, bought the curses from their local witch, and then went and buried them in the street because they're like,
Yeah.
I want the red team's chariot to crash, burn, and murder this guy, and like take out five of their horses. I'm
Amazing.
like, okay, it's a little aggressive, but okay. So but would it be fair to say that if this is like the family is tied to the divine, right, and everything is going
Mm-hmm.
pretty okay, even if the family is a little small, like in population size,
Yeah.
before the historical events start, the family's doing okay and is
Yeah.
probably prospering. Now there's this invader coming in, and instead of protecting the family, this he cooperates
Yeah.
and is seen as, like, the gods turn away.
Yeah. And I can see that. And I can see that also coming from within the house.
Yeah.
Um, where there's like, oh, like the divine powers for So Devaji, but it's also like, was it the divine power? Was it his own children who were embarrassed by what he was doing? And, also are um have the same bloodline and may consider that his actions to be uh against religion and morality. Sure.
So we're saying that he died in like 1840,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so that gives all right. So he dies in 1840
Mm-hmm.
in 1840 under a cloud,
Mm-hmm.
and rumor has it, because of it, that the divine struck him down.
Yes.
The divine. Let me rephrase. Would this be a divine struck him down, or the divine turned him away? Is it an active choice by the divine?
Oh, we're going out active.
Okay.
Like he was punished.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe his children may have acted on the divine's behalf.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like the who did the divine act through? Was it a lightning strike, or was it the hand of the poisoner? We don't know.
We don't know. I like the ambiguity there. I like ambiguity.
Listen, a lot of things get lost in time.
Frequently, particularly if you're going to then have what will eventually be a horrible defeat and doom and horrible defeat to the point that you leave the country. That piece we out. Okay.
Can't be worse anywhere else. They said, we'll take our chances on the other side of the globe. Can't be worse. Lies, it got worse.
And it definitely got worse. Okay. So now we've got this, and then we have this uprising, right? Okay, so then my next question is, so he dies in 1840. One of the children inherits.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point for population, we have you're still at like a nuclear family, right? So like a number, like what would be the average family size, or like are we talking like big families? All right.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong.
Like my aunt has 11 siblings.
Yeah, that's okay.
But that being said, like, but that is rare. But my grandma was one of 6. I think my grandfather was around one of 6 or 7. So like, you go up. It's about the same.
Yeah. So the nuclear family is going to be the parents, or would have been Devaji, his spouse, and then however many children they had. So
yeah,
a few. And correct me if I'm wrong, but at this point in going forward, India practices male total primogeniture, right? Like the oldest son inherits everything.
Yeah.
And
that's it. I mean, that was actually listed on one of the pages, but yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the oldest son inherits.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's this defeat, right? And you lose a little bit of people, but not a lot, right? So there's still a number of people alive. But you lose a massive amount of influence and a massive amount of land.
Mm-hmm.
And magic. Would it be fair to say that perhaps that oldest son who inherited dies in the battle against the English?
Oh yeah, in the revolt, and it doesn't just have to be him.
Oh yeah, there's probably a couple
two of them.
Yeah, it's like how many of these siblings actually survived? Now, to be fair, I fully understand revolting against the English. I support revolting against the English. Violent uprisings there.
It was also happening all over the country.
Exactly.
So there was a lot of momentum. There was a lot of I mean, it could also just be like other ones that maybe if they weren't at home, they got caught in revolts. Like it was a time of uprising, and it was squashed brutally. Okay. So I think it was kind of one of those, like, if you were anywhere near anything suspicious.
Yeah, because the English are effective at violently putting down revolts. They don't last. They're effective at doing it.
Hey, I mean, they got like almost another 100 years out of it.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm from a long line of Irish Republic. So the heir
But I
dies.
mean, because this happened 1857, 1858. India did not get independence till 1947.
Yeah, so 100 years later.
Yep.
And we can all agree that the English even screwed that up.
Yeah.
So the heir dies in the uprising, along with a number of siblings.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's going to set this up for this arranged marriage, right? Like,
yes.
Because if you're going to have this arranged marriage, like, would such an arrangement, how to phrase this the right way, if we're looking at this arranged marriage, usually such an arrangement where it would be a political union means that there would be, at least for normal primogeniture status, would be that there are no male heirs to inherit, and she is going to have this in kingdom by herself. So she needs to marry. But that's probably not the same.
Yeah, no, I think it's a marriage to, because in Indian families also they're like, that wasn't the only reason daughters were married off. Daughters, like, they needed to be married off, but it was also like royalty wanted to marry royalty. Dowries were a big thing.
Yeah, dowry. I'm just thinking about because of specifically this political union that we're talking about, right? Like dowries and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that the political union was to, I think, it was a way to tie the two states together in withstanding the British.
So this was an alliance marriage.
It was an alliance, yes.
Okay.
It was not a save the family. It was we just got defeated. How do we build power again?
Okay, so this is an alliance marriage, which is important. Which is going to
make the treachery even more fun.
Which is going to make the treachery even more fun. So this leads to the scandal. It's a scandal. It's scandalous.
Oh, no, I meant like in the future when that exact same possible ally is then.
Yeah.
All right. And this also makes sense that it's an alliance, and then in order to not get them to completely sour away from you, that's why you do the whole
sell off the land or give the gift of land.
Yes.
All right. So this leads to the next question of, well, we need her name.
We need her name.
And everyone has beef with the English if you go back far enough.
It's true though, right?
I mean, let's be honest. I did an entire lecture when I was teaching world history, because I was teaching Renaissance forward, effectively. Everything wrong with the 20th century is England's fault. Legitimately everything that is currently going wrong in geopolitics is England.
All right.
Except Russia. Russia by itself is Russia. That's an entirely separate issue. And so she is going to be the daughter of Shivaji.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does that work mathematically?
Yeah, because we've also we don't know exactly how long lived they are, but he dies in 1840, right? And his oldest, the heir dies in 1857, along with a number of other siblings. So if she's the youngest daughter, or even just the youngest marriageable age daughter, right? She would have been 17. If we say Shivaji died in 1840, she would have been 24 in 1864. Is that too old for her to be unmarried?
Yes.
Okay, so how old is she? So is she
maybe she's the first son's daughter.
The first son's daughter. Okay, that
the
works.
One who died in the revolt.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna call her, I have to find old-timey Indian names, which, have fun with that. Her name is Indumati.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to spell
that. Yep. I told you. Old-timey Indian names, man. I didn't make the rules.
Look, trust me, I understand. My name is
My parents are like, 4 letters, let's go.
My dad said, hi, we're gonna perpetuate the Irish Republic in just a touch, and give you a name that cannot be spelled in English. because the English government in so Gaelic doesn't have the vowel shift that English did.
Mm.
And that, like, while my name is said Deirdre, there's no A in my name anywhere, which has made things a
Lol.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, so in Dumati,
Indumati. Yeah.
in Dumati,
Yeah.
so
And it's a
slurred.
neighboring kingdom of, or we'll call them prince. Apparently, they're called princely states.
Princely
Princely
state.
state of of Virtur. Okay.
Cool. Virpur is. I want to make sure.
Virpur.
Vir,
Virpur.
Virpur.
Virpur. Mm-hmm.
My last. Krellin says my last name is three large Irish tribes jammed together and anglicized because the English said, "F your stupid Gaelic names." I mean, fair. To be fair. Um. Uh. Effie. Evie. More. Evie with the double F. But yes, you're close. Eve. But yeah. Gaelic is fun. Not that there aren't like four dialects of that language, but yeah. So okay, so Indumati.
You had it the first one you said was correct. Indumati.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hi everyone. This is where I'm going to tell everyone also watching at home and will watch this later. I have a sound symbol relationships problem and an auditory processing issue. That means I look at letters and I can't always figure out how they sound. I need somebody to say it like 6 times to make the
valid.
It's and when I say I don't want to come across like I'm not being able to say something just because you.
Which is why I love phonetic languages.
No, not phonetic languages.
Not phonetic.
Give me Greek syllabic languages. Sound change, symbol change. No combinations of letters to make new sounds. Everything is exactly. It's read exactly as it's written, except for diphthongs. But diphthongs or whatever.
I mean, so is Hindi and Gujarati. I read exactly. That's what I meant by phonetic. Is that it's like literally like
okay.
Every sound is clear.
Okay, so when we think of phonetic languages in linguistics, linguistics side note. In linguistics side note, is phonetics are all of the sounds combinations can be just, different letters can make different sounds. Like tion. Tion is not the same thing as
okay. No, that's not what. No, I'm talking about whatever. I don't know what the classification of the other thing is.
You're thinking of what we call.
You can read it and you can pronounce it.
Yeah,
like you don't. Yeah, I don't need to know the meaning to be able to read and pronounce it perfectly because I know the alphabet.
Yeah, that's what we call a syllabic language, where the letter is tied to one sound, and doesn't change, and so there are no combinations of letters to make new sounds. Like the sound f is represented by a phi, and anytime you see a phi, it's just f, whether it's not f or ph or whatever. Although it's frequently translated as ph. But it's why Greek is fun and easy. So in Dumati, Jadaji.
Jadija.
Sorry. Jadija. Yeah, that's because I was reading the two words across from each other, like Jadija. All right, so in Dumati, Jadija. So I have a very important question. Who's her lover?
I want it to be what would be properly scandalous? I think the proper scandal would be to run away with somebody who's we're going full romance novel, somebody who not just a full romance novel, but also realistically, how many other people does she get actually exposed to? I feel like your choices are people like somebody from the city state, like one of the farmers living in the area, something of the sort, because she just she didn't have the option to get out much.
So your sliding scale of scandal would be another woman, a servant class, an Englishman.
That would not be as scandalous because she's a woman, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be scandalous if her father was killed in the English uprising?
Well, the scandal here is that she broke the alliance.
That's true. She
Yeah.
breaks the alliance, so
Um,
that's not as scandalous as the scandal is the alliance breaking, not who she's running away with.
well, it could be both. It could
Okay.
be like, oh wait, you, because here's the thing. Ultimately, it's like, oh, you are trying to build an alliance. Your sister ran away with the English. Like I
Yeah.
get that, but I also want her to be happy about it. Like I don't feel like her life would be happy if she ran away with an Englishman.
Yeah, nobody's life is happy when you run away with an Englishman.
So which is why she's
regardless
just
of
gonna
what-
run. She's gonna run away with like a farmer.
A farmer? Okay.
Yeah. If she just wants to have a simple life, and they're like, hello, there's bigger things going on, and she's like, hey, you never let it be my problem. Why should it start now?
Look, does she run away with the gardener who leaves her roses? Or whatever, not roses, but like, full romance novel.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Like, there's lots of stories about this. She ran away with the gardener. She ran away with the stable hand. There's a lot of different versions of this. The point was, the men were out here fighting and revolting and doing shit. A homegirl was like,
peace, I'm out.
I'm out.
So this leads to the question then, right? Like, is this a situation where no one actually knows who her lover is?
I think it was lost to time, because no one like, the thing with a lot of this stuff is that there was probably not that much, even if it was written, saved, because they left. Plus, a lot of these princely states, when the British took over, were looted, burned, whether it was like, looted for riches, burned to crush morale. A lot of these palaces were in fact destroyed or turned into then British offices.
Yeah, and British country living.
Yeah, so there's a lot of reasons why details did not survive. Also, the scandal was such a big deal and occupying everyone's time that, like, who's going to pay attention to the girl?
Yeah, she didn't show up. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also had the audacity to run away and leave the family hanging.
Yes. So this leads to my next question. Okay, so we need a name for the heir, just for reasons.
The heir, okay. So her dad.
Yeah,
I'm pulling the heir names from the actual thing. So okay, we're gonna go with well, everyone has a G at the end for reasons I told you. So the heir is gonna be Ganuji. So her dad is I guess he was a Maharaja, because he inherited.
Yeah, and then he just happens to get murdered.
As happens when,
Kunaji?
Ganuji. It's yeah, I know.
Ganuji. Okay.
Yeah. You can also add like little dashes in between the actual name and the G to separate them, if that's easier for you to read.
Oh no, the G is easy. That just gets put in the back of the head. It's the Ganuji.
So I think for the most part, we're gonna see a lot of first stressed syllables.
Okay, first stress Ganuji.
Devaji. I think Indumati. I think you have like the second.
Indumati. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just have to remember that it's Ganu, not Kanu.
Kanu means drawer.
Excuse me. Door or drawer?
Drawer.
Cool. Good to know. I'm here for all the language lessons. Okay. So he dies violently. Davaji dies suspiciously at the head from divine will. What was the hand of the divine? We don't know, but the divine will is what did this.
Someone struck him down.
So who and Indumati ran off. So who is in charge when we get to 1893?
I think it's probably uh it could either be the Maharaja's, Devaji's like last surviving son, or it could be or it could be Ganuji's oldest kid. Like,
Yeah, because we also haven't established how long lived these quasi divine beings are.
yeah.
So,
Well, given the number of family members that seem to be disappearing in every stage, I think they're cursed, and so I like the idea of just like non-natural
non-natural,
causes
not that
deaths.
nobody has died of natural causes except for maybe Dabaji. Maybe. It looked like a heart attack. Um, so in that case, is it Ganuji's son or his brother?
Maybe his brother. I think Ganuji's brother would make sense because it's distanced enough from Indumati because that's her uncle,
Mm-hmm.
who's just like, oh yeah, you're go marry him now, without much knowing much about her or like.
So, like Ganuji probably would it be fair to say that Ganuji had no male heirs, and it then
Yeah,
the line of descent went to
his brother.
one of the
Yeah,
younger brothers who survives, right?
yeah.
Okay, so we need his name.
Um, uh, how much do I want to torture?
Hey,
Okay. All right. Well, God, they were such. I mean, I personally think they're terrible names, but they were terrible names even in my grandfather's time.
okay, so
Okay,
I have
brother of
you keep
Khan.
saying this. You keep saying this. They're terrible names. Why are they terrible? Do they
Because
have
they
bad meaning?
sound old and bad to me.
Okay, so they sound Victorian. Like if the comparison for English speakers is they sound, like are we saying they sound like Victorian names, or are we saying that they sound like Puritan, um, like silence or do good, whatever, Ethel?
No, they're just of a generation at a time, and these names were all like they were. None of these are like unusual names for the time. It's just that these names don't really exist from the boomers onwards. Like they were
Okay,
just.
so the same kind of thing as we would say is like they're like Victorian names, right? Like if we would say
Yeah,
like um Hortense. There we go. There's a good one.
yeah, yeah.
Um names like this is why I wanted to do this with someone like this and have all of us fun and talk about these kind of things. Like if we wanted to talk about like Victorian names, right? Like
Hmm.
um Weldon, right?
Weldon?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Chester,
Hmm.
Stanley, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, what is another really good one? Um, 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 Clarence. Names that are just Zebediah, Irving, Constance. All of these are names that are just like would have been really common at the time and just
Yeah.
aren't now. Like they're just
Yeah.
considered old fashioned.
Some of them I feel like are somewhat making a comeback. But I think for what it's really funny to hear my mom talk about what she considers old fashioned names. Uh because, like being of a different generation, like what's
Yeah.
like when she mentions names that she considers old fashioned, I've never heard them.
There we go. See?
Like, because they just don't exist. There's no media covering them. There's no really writing covering them. But anyway, the brother is Natuji.
Natuji. Okay, so would that be a common naming practice to have a similar phonetic syllable in across a generation?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pulling these from like the actual Jadeja family in Gondal.
Thank you. But we're learning a lot.
Yeah. Oh, right. I should write that down. Their city state of Gondal in Gujarat. All right. So, Natsuji arranges this marriage or
Okay,
this
so
alliance
not
to
not okay. So the Natuji or Nathuji?
Natsuji.
Natuji. Okay,
Yeah.
so the dental. Thank you. All right, so this is Natuji. He is the one who arranges this marriage,
Yep.
and then okay, so then this leads to the question, right? Like he's the one who originally
Mm-hmm.
um okay, he's the one who arranges this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Why 40 years later, 50 years later, does he sell them out? What has happened that he will sell out this other family to the Brits? And what does he sell them out for? Like, does he claim that they're plotting rebellion? Does he claim that they're holding taxes back? Or does he actually know about a rebellion that he then?
Well, I think the scandal over here, of course,
Mhm.
it really hurt his influence, and
It did. It dropped you a
the,
-6 in that influence.
that was a big influence drop. And I think it might have been a uh, way to get back power. It could have, and um, I can just see him being 60, 30 years, right? From
Mhm.
the scandal in the treasury. I can see that being 30 years of festering on how everything was and kind of just turning it around where like, the Raja of Virpur made such a big deal about this and like took away my land and has been bad mouthing me ever since. And like we're neighboring states and neighboring states always have their own like stuff going on. And I think it just became it might have been like a two birds with one stone thing where it was like the British are getting stronger progressively. My brother was killed in a revolt. I need to shore up my power, and because it's treachery, I'm tempted to say that it wasn't even necessarily based in fact. Like, I don't,
So it
no
wasn't.
one knows whether the Virpur Raja was actually plotting
Yeah.
against the British. What was found was that he was found guilty of plotting against the British.
It was reported by
Mm.
Natuji that he was conspiring against the British.
And I think maybe suffered consequences from the British in front of like everybody who otherwise, he was a well respected person. Um, and especially if he was resisting the British and interested in, forming alliances to help create more of a barrier to the British. Like I'm sure the people who didn't want the English rule had great respect for him. So knowing that Nathuji is now suddenly buddy buddy with the British and their beef, it's a blood feud. It's known. Their beef
Yeah.
is known. So I think that probably is why once this treachery happened, reputation and influence just
Okay.
tended to vanish.
It was reported that the was conspiring against the Brits. Okay. So then this leads to another question.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with this specifically.
Uh-huh.
So we talked about how long lived. We don't know exactly how long lived. They keep dying of unnatural causes. right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Would it have been how to phrase this? I don't want to pre-Protestant influence Ireland and even today in Southern Ireland. Um, there's a strong tradition of like it's all real, the supernatural does exist, and the belief about that and it's accepted kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You leave out milk and salt or bread and salt for the Fey folk on certain holidays.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you greet your ancestors, and the Italians. There's a whole reasons why we have a major death culture. It's fine. As we say, it's not crazy if you're talking to your dead relatives. It is crazy when they start talking back. That's the distinction. Like if you're just talking out loud to your dead, good for you. They probably heard you. If they start talking back, we have some kind of questions, right? Like,
Yeah.
So would it have been culturally like because he's probably like if his father died in 1840, right? And he
Mm-hmm.
had to have been at least what 20 to inherit.
Yeah.
So he was born in minimum born in 1820.
Mm-hmm.
It's now 1893, right? He's 70 years old. Does he look 70 at all?
I
And would
think
it be
so.
would it be something like would that be something that he's supposed to look like he ages normally, or would the people around him be like, no, they're just special and divine in some manner?
I think there is amongst the people of the actual of Gondel, there is some belief that there's like they're divinely touched. They don't know the um full extent of that. I think he probably looks like he ages slower, but not
So
not like he looks like he's 30. He probably looks like he's in his like late 50s.
he
Where
looks
it's
good for
just
his
like
age.
he looks great for his age, but it's like one of those like, oh, some people are just gifted, or like God just loves some people more kind of a thing, where it's like it still is attributable to like
Good
good
genetics.
luck, genetics, divine favor.
Um,
Or yeah.
okay. So thank you. That helps with that. All right. So then comes the would it be his son or his grandson who makes the trip and starts living in Georgia?
I think I feel like that's a young person's
Here's a question.
youngish
18
person. Oh,
where they
yeah.
come they come 1914.
I would say his son, if he had a son fairly late. This is going to be a son that did have opportunities, so probably a son who was like maybe a mid to late teenager in 18, maybe mid teenager,
mm,
1893. And
mm,
then the reason I say that is because since the HOA rating went up, this son had the benefit to probably maybe get sponsored by the British, since those are his only friends now, to go study elsewhere. And I think that while out there, the idea of like, we should just leave, because I think the son probably experienced whatever sense of normalcy is possible for a brown person in the Western world, and then coming back to the politics, the all of the nonsense at home, was like, we just need to make a clean break, because
so would he
his
have
dad was spiraling, I guess.
so would he have gone like would he have been sent to Oglethorpe go to school? He wouldn't have gone to Georgia Tech because Georgia Tech was existed. It was founded in 1885, but it was a pure tech school, trade school.
Mm,
Like he wouldn't go to it.
yeah.
He would go, but Oglethorpe is a major university founded in 1830, chartered by the state in 1835, and began in 1838. Really, and then but it's well known, and then it's rechartered. It like reopens in it technically closes in 1872 and then reopens in 1913.
Mm.
Um, but it's like really well known for um conferring honorary degrees to recognize superior civic and scientific achievement to such notables as Woodrow Wilson, Franklin Roosevelt, and Amelia Earhart, developing the crypt of civilization, the first modern time capsule, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like really kind of well known for a lot of liberal arts things and
Mm-hmm.
but also civic engineering, the big thing out of Oglethorpe.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I mean, that's in
Especially,
Atlanta, but I mean, because he's not going to go. There's not really
yeah, but connections, like if there's reasons and connections for him to get there, yeah.
because his other choice would be to go to school in England, right?
Yes. Well, well, I mean, England or other colonies.
Other colonies, and major universities of other colonies at this point, in 1913, just around
Yeah.
World War I, are Trinity College Dublin,
Mm-hmm.
Canada, or U.S. institutions, and
I think U.S. institution, it makes sense. Uh I think that makes sense given that his father's favor with the British is middling at best. So it's probably not good enough to get him into like an actual like
he's
British
not getting into
university.
Oxford or Cambridge.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have that kind of thing. But it's more like, okay, well, I can talk to a guy. I'll write a guy a letter.
Mm-hmm.
So I
And
think Oglethorpe makes sense. And it also explains why Georgia.
mm-hmm, it also explains why Georgia. I was like, how are we getting to Georgia? Like, oh,
Yeah.
Oglethorpe, or
Yeah.
Emory. Emory could work actually. Emory could work, right? Emory could work, I believe. When was Emory founded? Emory University. Come here, Emory. Because Emory. Give me history. Give me history. Give me history of this college that I.
1836.
Yeah, there we go. So, but also Emory has a connection to Oxford.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I can't get you into actual Oxford, but I can get you into Emory.
Yeah, I think that works. I think
And
that
it's
makes
the
sense.
premier law. It's the premier law. Well, one of the two premier law schools and medical school. Premier medical school in the South at the point. At this point,
Yeah.
like, right? Okay, so he's going to university at Emory. Do we have his name? Um,
No, we do not have a name for him yet, but I'm going to give him a slightly more modern name. Slightly. Uh,
okay, so here's a big thing, right?
mm-hmm,
Like, Nathuji looks like he's in his 50s, but he's really in his 70s. How old is
mm-hmm.
the son?
I think I think the son was born late in life.
Okay.
So I think he is, um, he actually looks, at least at this point, the age that he is.
18 or 20?
I think well, I mean, if he came out when he was 18, and then I think he moves when he's a little bit older. What was the one I just saw? I liked. Oh, Uday. Okay. Well, I don't know. It still sounds a little new to me.
You again. This is going so much fun.
Of
Also,
course. Okay, let's go with Brene.
Sorry, what?
We're gonna go with Pranay. Pranay.
Praney. Pranay?
Nay. Yeah. Or Pranay. I mean, that's just how it's like that's not how it's
Anglicized?
pronounced. Yeah, it's also anglicized. Okay, let's see. So okay. So his name is Pranay Jadeja. All right. And then he stays, starts building a family there.
Okay. So here's another most important question. Does he marry someone from Georgia or someone from India?
I think he's going to marry someone from Georgia.
Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Let me rephrase that. Did she go to Emery or did she go to Agnes?
What's
and we're
Agnes?
assuming that she's a white girl. She went to Agnes.
What's Agnes?
So, fun fact. I get to say this. The university college system in Georgia at this time, Emory was not. Well, it kind of did, but it really didn't accept. Emory and Georgia Tech didn't accept women students.
Mm.
And there were two types of women who went to college at this, basically going forward. Probably also married a little closer to like 1920. There's the University of Georgia girls, and then there's Agnes Scott girls. Agnes Scott is a women's college which still exists, and someone may have went there. The joke used to be that if you wanted to actually get an education and be smart, you went to Agnes, and if you wanted an MRS degree, you went to University. But like Agnes is a look, Coldrake, we're assuming that he's marrying a white girl. He's probably, I don't, just based on things that are happening. I mean, he could marry a girl from Spelman, one of the black girls from Spelman.
I mean, that could just add to the scandal.
Any geek got it.
Oh yeah, no MRS degree. I mean, I went to school in the South. The jokes.
Yeah, that's a very famous line.
There's a version of that joke in every state.
Oh yeah, there is.
Yeah. Let's say that was a girl from Spelman.
Girl from Spelman. One of the big women's college HBCs that exist. They're great girls. They're just fabulous people. Fully support them. All right. So he's gonna marries a black girl. Out of curiosity, how scandalous would that have been at the turn of the century?
Well, in India, the not marrying an Indian person, maybe not marry. I'm marrying outside your caste was a.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Nathuji probably lost his shit.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking it was like, it was a sliding scale of, oh wait, you married a non-Indian girl, and then just everything after was irrelevant.
Yeah, pretty much, because at that point, like, there really wasn't. It was all secondary. Like, we don't even know if she. I mean, we can talk about it, but like, the question is like, given how expensive travel was, did she even get to go back? Because right after this is this invasion.
Yeah, so that's
not that long after. Yeah,
15 years or 10 years.
10 years, right? Yeah.
So a decade, right? Like, okay.
And I think that decade is probably them starting their family, starting their home here,
establishing themselves. Okay, so then that leads to the next question, right? Like, we know that they've established themselves, and then we get this protest. In 1928, is Nathuji still alive?
what did we decide he was? I would say probably the Nephilim have slightly longer than
Okay.
expected life. So
So
it's probably, yeah. I think, with modern medicine and everything, I would say for them to live to 100, because we've had stories of people living to 100 for a very long time.
yeah.
But like them living to to be 100 is kind of as common as like humans living to 70 today.
Okay, so he is 100, and does he die in this protest? Or is
Um,
he
I want to say he refuses to leave, and then
there we go. Now, does he refuse to leave because everyone's saying we need to go to England and he's already cut off his son?
yeah, I think everyone's like,
girl.
yeah, I think there's letters coming slowly, and I think Pranay is calling folks over and says, listen, it's just bad news there.
Wait. I need to spell his name.
Oh, I put it right there. Oh,
Where?
did it not come through? Nathuji's son Pranay went to Emory.
Oh, there we go.
So I think I think he was like kind of like calling folks over to come to this new place, set up a family here, kind of being like, a family is not what it once was. This is still also like, unrest is starting to burble again. Things might get violent. Let's get out, kind of a thing. And
so he doesn't disown his son, but he kind of reject, like.
Yeah, I think he probably did consider his son as having abandoned him.
Okay.
Because the idea was for him to go get educated and come back, and he didn't.
So not the G. Let's say rejects. Totally I'm going to use the word rejects, even though he doesn't abandon.
Yeah.
And he doesn't disown, right?
Yeah, there really wasn't a need because he was so far away.
Yeah.
I think if they lived in the same country, maybe he would like refuse to go to his son's house, but like acknowledge his son if he visited him, kind of a thing, like that kind of a relationship.
You're going to come to me and acknowledge.
Yeah. Which is why he's like, I'm not leaving. This is the family land. I'm gonna crumble with it. And well, the next time someone looked around, things look pretty crumbled.
Because he refuses to leave. And join the family in Georgia. All right. So then now we have a question. 30 years, or well, 1928 to 1941, right? Like,
yeah,
13 years, right? If we say that Pranay's oldest child is 23. Right? Roughly.
Yeah.
Are they the last heir with everyone else who dies fighting? Or is it an even younger member of a family?
I think a 23-year-old
because like if like he gets married in if he gets married in 1918, right?
Yeah.
The oldest he can be is 20.
Yeah, for sure. I think
wait, did I do that math right? He's not even 20 yet. No, he is 23. He'd be
I think the
I'm doing math wrong. The oldest he can be in 1945 is 27. Sorry, not 23, 27.
Well, I think I like the idea of it being like a 23-year-old.
So the younger sibling then.
Yeah, like I mean, once again, could be money. The last heir is a 23-year-old who got 4F'd, and because I'm thinking I don't want them to be so young to where they haven't had the ability to like establish kind of like a reputation for themselves as to who they are. Uh, but just young enough to where this is a lot to take on.
Yeah, and I think that's that focuses on I spend all of the money to get the
Yeah.
land. Like,
Yeah.
this is done. Now what? And
Now what?
okay, but who is this last heir? They're 23.
Mm-hmm. In 1945.
Mm-hmm. Which means we're born in 1922.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Renbeer.
Well, first question: are they male or female, or non? I think something.
Well, I think we talked about this with the 4F. It has to be.
Oh yeah, it has to be male because they're going to be drafted. Yes.
Yeah. So this is going to be a Renbeer. Okay. Last heir, Renbeer Jadeja.
Run beer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Um. Did he go to university?
I think so.
Okay, and then the question is, did he go to his father's university, Emory, or did he go to Georgia Tech or UGA or Oglethorpe?
I think back then probably his father's university, because his father clearly had a good enough time at university to like want to stay. So I think that's one of those, like, it's a known quantity.
Yeah, Emory. If you're living in Savannah, if like the family has moved to Savannah after he graduated, which could be slightly better than living in Atlanta at the time. Closer to the water, lots better. And then probably better prospects and something. And then going from Savannah to Emory would be, particularly because if he is, unwell in some way, right? And then I guess the last question is, what is his actual people? He's married, right? Who is he married to?
Renbeer? Mm-hmm. Like, ooh. I was like, he did get hit with doom. Just like prolonged bad luck. Maybe he was married. I think maybe he was married to if the whole family died off.
Yeah, because we also have to figure out how Rene and his wife die. Like, his wife could just die of many things.
Yeah. And I think so. What I was thinking for Ranbir's wife is that maybe he did marry an Indian woman, but I keep having to kill people, but that's because of the dice. It's not because I want everyone to be doomed. Just know that.
No, the dice do. It's fine. We can blame the dice.
We blame the dice. I want to say, what if he?
Because I mean,
his wife.
What is your final people? Right, like your final people is
today is just 2 people.
It's just 2 people. Yeah. So Renbeer and whom? His spouse.
Renbeer, I think Renbeer marries an Indian woman because the family has a no-seed estimated, and maybe it's one of those like trying to like maybe subconsciously rebuild what was lost kind of a thing. So I think he marries like an Indian woman. Maybe she comes all the way from India, but it's a long travel. She was weakened, probably had 1 kid and then died.
Okay, so at the time the game starts, they're no longer married.
What time does the game? What year does the game start?
1945.
1945. Oh, okay. I think she's ill.
Okay, so
she's sickly. How about that?
Okay, so Indian woman, sickly. I mean, plus he's 23, so she would have been what? 18 at most.
19. Yeah.
Sickly, 18, 19. An arranged marriage?
I think so.
Who arranged the marriage?
My guess is cousins. I think this is really one of those things where like he didn't see her till she arrived.
Okay. So then we've got this. But how does Prene and his wife, right? Like
Yeah, how did they
Ranbir's
die?
parents, how do they die? Because
I think yeah.
Prene we can have serve in the war, right? Because he's old. He's even if he looks, like this Niflheim thing, he looks younger.
Yeah.
He would still be if he's born. He's what did we say? He was 18 or he's
He was college aged
yeah in
when he
1914.
came in 1914.
So
He probably looks like he's in his 30s.
yeah, he looks like he's in his 30s. He's young enough.
That's young enough looking to get drafted, right?
But it's also people know him, right? And they know that
Yeah.
he's even if he's if he's 18 in 1914, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means he's 44 or 45 in 1941, right? Like
Yeah.
middle-aged, old enough to be, not necessarily drafted if he volunteered or,
Yeah. Well, and if all of his sons were going to war.
yeah. And I mean, World War II is a big thing. Plus, I already established that the big event that reveals the supernatural existence that couldn't be hidden, right? Like there are small events that happen throughout the course of 38, 39, and 40, like the rumors of somebody's entire house surviving the Blitz in the Battle of England, or rumors of ships being sunken for no reason and U-boats running into so like lots of little things that keep building. And then the event that reveals it is in 1941 when a number of native Hawaiian, I don't want to mispronounce the word and I know it in my head and it's one of those words I've seen multiple times. It's a native Hawaiian seer slash holy figure kind of priest, report that the imminent threat of Japanese invasion, and then that revelation causes Pearl Harbor still happens, but enough people believe that it opens the door and things can't be hidden anymore. This also leads to things like a low-level magic user starts aiding, treating FDR for his various ailments, because you realize that FDR's various ailments that he dies of in 1944, 1945 are totally treatable with modern medicine.
Yeah.
It's basically a heart condition and cardiovascular disease that he couldn't treat with that couldn't be treated with exercise because of his polio.
Yeah.
And needed medication. So, like, okay, a low-level magic user is just enough magical ability to keep them alive, and he survives to the end of the war. So there's a bunch of things going on with that. So, like, how much Prene chooses to reveal about his abilities or anything like that could be his choice, but the revelation is now, okay, so people know him, know that he's there, know that he can do stuff. So
and he like, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like he also looks like really good for his age.
He looks really good for his age. So then the next question is, he went to Emory. Did he go to Emory Law School or Emory Med School?
I think Brené went to med school.
Okay, so then he went to med school. Did he did he go ahead and
volunteered
volunteer
as a
doctor? Okay, so he dies. Does he die in combat or in theater? In
the theater of war.
Yeah, in the theater of war somewhere. And so okay, so he dies. His other children die. What does his wife die of?
She's human.
Yes. Does she just have this major like heart attack at the revelation of all of her kids and then her husband dying?
I mean, it could just be that heartbreak thing where like her entire family was demolished in the war except for one kid. And
Okay, I need a name
for her,
for her.
for Mama J.
Yeah. 19, because here's the other thing. Okay, she would have been what, let's say 18, and she's roughly the same age, right? So she's 45. So she was born in
1900s.
Yeah, so let's say, I mean, we can make her a little bit younger than him and say 1900.
Yeah.
So 1900 African American girls' names. Yeah. Help me figure this out, guys.
I'm looking at a random black women's suffrage timeline, and the name Adela came up in 1905.
I like Adela. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's cute.
Adela.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Adela. Sorry we're going to kill you so quickly.
The dice did it. The dice literally said doom.
Okay, so, and then, so Prene and his other children die in combat. Adela dies of heartbreak.
That's so sad.
Okay, so then this leads to the next question. Ranbreer gets married.
Yes.
To an Indian woman. We need her name because she's alive in the moment.
She's alive. Yes.
She is currently alive. She might be sickly, but she's currently alive. I mean, we could even not make her sickly.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
or would so I don't know. But would Ranbir actually be considered actually a good prospect for anyone of like I rank? Because there's lots of scandal attached to his family name.
There's a lot of scandal attached to his family name. However, he probably got a wife on Prane's name in that, like, he's an Indian he's a doctor. He's settled down in this community. I think that we're looking at like the third or fourth daughter in a family of like maybe of like a good name kind of a thing, right? Like,
a third or
so
fourth.
maybe you know what? Like, let's not make her sickly because something has got to go not shitty for once. I thought that we had to get to present day, which is why I was like, okay, we gotta start killing people off.
No. You only had to get to 1945, so she's not sickly. She's like 18. So that leads to my question: is like she doesn't have to be sickly. Like, I was going to leave it as sickly if like that was like a reason why, you know.
No, that was just because I thought we had to get to present day, and I'm like, how am I going to keep killing people off? I gotta start coming up with ideas.
All right, so she is Indian and chooses to. All right, so she's a third daughter, arranged marriage.
I don't think she really made the choice. It was made for her.
Oh no, I feel she. And then look, we're gonna have to roll a couple things for this family at the end right here. Because.
All right. Her name is going to be Gayatri because it just got stuck in my head. Gonna put it in here. Indian woman.
And like put it right after Indian woman. It's like, this makes my life slightly easier for when I need to go back and actually pull together notes about who all of these people are.
Here, I added an extra A in there just to emphasize the first syllable.
Okay.
Gayatri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we said okay. Just need to put that up there so I remember. Okay, so they're married. Okay. So third daughter high caste.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably the same cast as him, and since he is of a prince, the cast there would be in the caste system they would be the second highest because the highest is the priests.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
they would
so
be because it's priests, then it's kings and warriors.
and then
So that one.
okay, so this leads to the question. Okay, so how long have they been married by 1945?
Probably we're talking like months.
Okay,
This is fresh. This is new. He bought a house and a bride.
okay, so
Kind of.
then that leads to the next question. You know, like, and this is again in Italy, you can't get married. You wouldn't have a marriage, particularly at this point, within 6 months of everybody dying in your family because of
Uh,
mourning periods, and you wouldn't do that. So I guess the question is, how long has his parents been dead?
I don't think it's been long. I think it was just one of those things where, I mean, he's already kind of considered strange. Also, there's nobody in his family to like waggle a finger at him.
Okay, so who arranged? So who did he arrange his own marriage?
I think he wrote a letter. I think he wrote letters to like cousins and uncles out there being like, I need
You
a
know,
wife. And also, he probably, this has probably been in the works since before it happened.
okay, so that was the thing. Is like, was this begun by other members of the family and just happened
Yeah.
to tie in, or was this okay?
Because
So
this probably happened. They probably started doing this because not everyone died at the same time,
no,
right? So like
no,
they're
no.
probably he got 4F'd early on when everybody else went in. And I think at that point it was like, okay, well, you have to run it's you and mom really staying behind. Like you need to start taking care of things, like mature, start a family, like whatever is considered like the thing of to do as an adult, right? And so like that was his responsibility was to.
Okay, so then my next question is, um, we know he hasn't gone to med school yet, because if he was in
Mhm.
medical school, that would have been less scandalous, right? Like he would have still been, oh, you're 4F, but you're also in medical school, so you're training to be a doctor, you're still
Yeah.
contributing, kind of thing. Um, but
I think he deferred
he
going to
he
get
deferred medical school.
education.
Yeah.
I think so. I think during the war he deferred because like I mean everything was happening there. Um Also I'm pretty sure if it was one of those things where Adela probably was also like you're not on the other side of the planet, you're staying here kind of a thing. Like I need you
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, your mom is taking care is doing some influence on this. Yes, I feel that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So then my last question is, we know he's Nephilim. What account so all right. We've got this, we've got this, we've got this. I want to just have you make a couple
Mhm.
rolls.
Okay.
Couple?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first roll is a d6.
Okay.
Single d6.
4.
Even. A we have had the pleasant announcement that his charming wife is pregnant.
Ooh, okay.
Gayatri is pregnant. And publicly so, right?
Mhm.
And again, this is 1945 in Georgia, so that means there has to be some level of visible ability for her
Yeah.
to be pregnant.
Yeah.
Second or third trimester,
Mhm.
earliest. Um, and then I would like for you to tell me whether or not they get along.
Mm.
How is their marriage?
I think they get along, but there is still just a little bit of on like they're not fully comfortable around each other. Like it's still the like, you know,
Awkward first meeting, honeymoon?
yeah, it's like the arranged marriage thing where it's just like, oh, like if they have 2 bathrooms, stay in the house, then like if one of them has to go to the bathroom, they're gonna go to the far one kind of a thing. Because it's like the awkwardness of not letting your new spouse hear anything, or like it's that level of like just a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of formality that probably will disappear over time. They like each other enough to where, like, they're gonna, like, this is a marriage, they're gonna make it work, and they are committed to each other. But it's just a little new and shiny, and I mean, they don't know each other that well. They've known each other as long as they've been married to each other.
Yeah, no, that's like each other, but still awkward.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's, but that's not unusual either.
No. It wouldn't be unusual. That would make a lot of sense. It's just
Yeah. No, I meant like even other marriages at the time where people were getting kind of married to who they were told to get married to, like that kind of like, in fact, like that might enamor her to some of the other women where they're like, oh no, we totally understand marrying somebody you don't really know well.
particularly a lot of war brides coming back from World War II.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. We've done.
Oh, yay.
We've done.
As good timing too.
Yeah, it's perfect. Exactly on time. But this is why. But thank you again for doing this with me. So this Jadaji? Jadaja. I will get that. Why do I keep adding I? It's because everybody's name has
because everybody's names end with G's.
Jadaja.
I mean, if you want to make it really confusing for yourself, you could just have one of them be Jadaji. You don't have to.
Jadaji Jad.
Nope.
Just Jadaji. Okay.
Confused your girl with J's.
It's okay. I will figure this out and I will make it work. But thank you for doing this. Again, one of the things I want to do with this game is build it in such a way that the world feels lived in and real, and add color.
Yeah.
Lots of color in various shades. To might not be so great a color. So we are going to we're going to give you some wonderful details, and we'll let Puja tell you where you find her and do all those good things. Say all those good things.
Hello everybody. I am Puja. You can find me on Twitter at Puja, as long as that's it, and Pujaberwalkie everywhere else. And for the most part, I had taken a hiatus because I just got married, and so pretty much the only thing that's still going on regularly is my Saturday campaign, which is Strange Hungers. It's a D&D 5e horror campaign set in my DM's old homebrew world. It's very queer. It's very wonderful. I love it, and at this point, we've been doing it for about a year and a half. It's great stuff. And then, other than that, I am going to be in an All the Witches 2-shot this Monday and the Monday after, and that is going to be on the Bad House RPG channel. So, I am technically on Hive as Puja. I think it's either Puja or Pujaberwalkie. No, there was a Puja already there from like 2018 or something, but Pujaberwalkie there. So I am there. I just, last time I looked at it, it wasn't working. So
it's actually getting pretty good now. I'm over there as well.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. I will definitely take a look because Twitter is more or less a hellscape. So yeah, you can find me around on the internet. Be there.
Yes, indeed. Follow Puja and Pujaberwalkie, all of the things. Do all of the good things. Follow all the projects that she's on because she's fabulous and wonderful. And also congratulations on your wedding again.
Thank you.
But as for me, hey everybody, you know me. I'm at Dirgidon on Twitter, Praxagorth Thesmiophores. You see me around here on Twitch, your friendly neighborhood Prax. You can also find me on Hive at Prax the Bard on Hive. Easy. Kind of have a theme going. But tomorrow, stay tuned, because sometime during the day tomorrow, I believe at like 1 o'clock. Yes, 1 o'clock. I might be back in this seat. And there might be somebody else on that side of the screen.
Ooh.
Surprises might be in store. And if you missed out on any of this and this looks really fun and you enjoyed it and you want to check out any of the other streams I've done building this world in this game, you can check them out over on YouTube. We also have a whole bunch of VODs from all of the other games that I run, including the game that Puja was in, the wonderfully fabulous, fun Blue Rose campaign.
Ooh, yeah.
And Mechton, by the way, there's actual Mechton, there's also merch tied to Mechton that we
Oh.
did. Um, it's actually physical. People can go buy it, and a wonderful friend helped me design it, and so there it's there. You can go buy it if you want. Help support the channel and do all of those good things. Also, I have a Ko-Fi. It does all of the wonderful things to help support the channel. It goes back into here, art, all that good stuff. But we should go and raid someone and share some love and put some love out into the
Yeah.
universe. As soon as I can find the right button and be on the right channel. So we should go raid High Shelf Collective because they are doing oh, they're doing the red markets. Oh yeah. We're gonna go send them some love and thank you everybody for being here. And until next oh, actually no, I should say this. We'll see you tomorrow. Maybe. I will definitely see you Saturday for A Song of Agapia's Fortune at 8 p.m., our high-level D&D campaign. And then Sunday, oh, High Shelf Collective just raided us, so we're not going to go raid them. Hi, everybody coming in from High Shelf Collective.
Amazing.
We love it. We're just wrapping up. We're gonna go, but stick around because we're gonna go raid over into Cybernation Uncensored because they're not up either, are they? No one up? Apparently nobody's up and I'm here at the end. You know, it's Thursday night. Everybody wants to go watch Critical Role. But welcome in, Raiders. We appreciate you coming by. We were just doing some world building stream. But we're gonna end up for tonight and let you all go get some rest. Perception Studio is up. Let's see. Oh, no Critical Role is tonight. That's right. There is no Critical Role tonight. Perception Studio. Yeah. We can go out raid into them. Send them some love. Until next time, everybody.